And we're back on My Mayor, the highest rated show about St. Petersburg candidates for mayor in the history of the world, I think. As we've been talking about many issues in St. Pete's, affordable housing keeps coming up as one of the top ones, if not the top one. And so we're going to do one more guest host, off-site, really dig into affordable housing. And there's no one who knows more about it than the leader of our local Habitat for Humanity chapter, Mike Sutton. Welcome, sir.
Hey, Joe, thanks for having me.
You started in 2014?
Correct.
And amazing accomplishments. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think somewhere around 6 billion houses, 7 billion houses?
Somewhere around there. Got to round out a little bit. But I took this role in 2014, and the day I started, we celebrated the 280th home that we had completed in the community. And now we've built more than 710 homes. The community continues to see this need for affordable home ownership. And as long as they continue to throw that support behind Habitat, we feel like we can be one piece of that puzzle to ensuring that everyone has a safe and affordable place to live.
Great. And you've been very creative. Habitat's been very creative in moving into different types of housing. You're buying larger tracts of land and building communities. Looking at potentially getting into multi-family structures and things like that. So with you stretching and seeing all the ways that you can help the community, what are you hoping to learn from our candidates about how they can support you in that?
I think at the end of the day, we want to hear more from them about how we can ensure that St. Petersburg remains a place that all people can live. We have to find a way to provide affordable home ownership, to keep workers here, to be able to keep teachers and people that work in the police department and the fire department. How do we keep them in our community? So look forward to hearing from them about that. I think there's also a lot of red tape and bureaucracy that goes into affordable home ownership. And so we'll probably touch on that a little bit today as well.
That's great. Well, I appreciate you bringing your insight and expertise, and I look forward to the conversation.
Thanks for having me. Ken, how are things going on the campaign trail?
Things are going well. We are nearing the finish line right now. Last count, more than 12,000 people that cast their ballots. And so, we're a vote by mail city and county. And so most folks will have voted by the end of the month, and then November 2nd is election day. So we're looking forward to it.
Awesome. Coming quick.
It's been a long 2 years, so yeah.
Well, thank you for spending some time with us today to talk a little bit about my favorite topic, affordable housing.
Absolutely.
We've provided you with a couple questions in advance, but we're just going to talk a little bit about affordable housing here in the city of St. Petersburg. And you've been a great advocate while you were on the commission, and we appreciate everything that you do for our community.
Well, Habitat does great work, and you're a great partner, so I'm looking forward to extending that partnership when I'm mayor.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Ken. So let's talk a little bit about zoning. So if you could change one thing within the city of St. Petersburg zoning code to increase the supply of affordable home ownership, what would it be and why?
Well, one of the things I've learned in serving 5 terms on the county commission is that everything is linked together. So there's not one solution. The one thing I do in the code is go ahead and advance the NTM1 zoning, the upzoning that will allow duplexes, triplexes, garage apartments, which is something we've had in the city in various neighborhoods for a while. But at the same time, I want to have an intense effort for truly affordable housing for folks making that 80% area median income, which is about $19 an hour and less, because that's half of our population. And there have been some studies that have shown when you do the upzoning, like NTM1, Chicago, for example, that you do increase workforce housing for folks making the average income and a little bit higher, so up to $50,000 to $60,000 for a single person. But you also increase the price of housing throughout that community. So unless we're purposeful in doing both at the same time for those folks that make less than $19 an hour and those folks that make the higher salaries, then you're going to further gentrification and make the problem worse. So I want to do both at the same time.
Okay, great. So for both for-profit and non-for-profit housing developers alike, the struggle with red tape and permitting times is real. What specific steps would you take to decrease that friction?
So you actually went to the struggle is real. I like that. And it is real. And I've heard that, from developers, from affordable, market rate, you name it, over the last year as I'm out in the community. What I bring to the table is more than 20 years of experience in our large corporations, Florida Power, St. Petersburg College, Raymond James. And what I did was financial systems management, mapping out financial systems. For Florida Power, I ran their PeopleSoft general ledger and had to implement upgrades to that. And so that is a process review. And I brought one of my works of art. So this whole book is SPC purchasing review.
Okay.
And this chart, this beautiful chart, was going through our purchasing process. How do you buy a computer at SPC? And so I talked to everybody from the provost to the receiving clerk, and mapped out this process using Visio. And when you do that, you come up with opportunities for improvement. And it comes from the customer, but a lot of those opportunities come from the employees themselves. They want to do a better job, and they can tell you, well, here's how we can make this process better. Here's how we can reduce, the planning and permitting time. Sometimes it's resources, sometimes it's technology, sometimes it's personnel, sometimes it's just policies that are outdated. And so coming into the mayor's office, I have that experience, and I will task the new city administrator, who I'll be hiring, to implement business process improvement in all of our departments so we can be as efficient as possible. But the thing I also learned is it's not a negative exercise. You don't go in saying, you guys, do everything wrong. You say, look, you don't have to be sick to get better. I know you want to provide excellent customer service. Tell me how we can make this process better. And that's the way you come up with opportunities for improvement, both short-term and long-term. And so I'm confident that's going to help us reduce that red tape.
Okay, great, thank you. So according to the Tampa Bay Regional Competitive Report, locally, there is almost a 40% gap in rates of homeownership between white households and households of color. How will you reduce this racial homeownership disparity in households of color?
I think you have to be intentional about it. We're here on 15th Avenue South. I went to Melrose, just a few blocks away, and my dad's office was a few blocks south. And this CRA that I helped lead at the county, working with Carl Nurse as a city councilman here, was created exactly for that. It has revenues. It brought in about $5.5 million last year. There are 25 more years on that CRA. So we're talking well over $100 million that can be used for poverty reduction and wealth accumulation. That includes putting people in a position to own homes. That means financial literacy can be a piece of it. I want to have hubs for innovation and education right here in the community, like at the Enoch Davis Center, like Childs Park down the road, where folks can come and learn, here's what you need to do to be in the position to be a first-time home buyer. Here are some financial literacy tips so you're not selling a home when you get a text saying, look, we'll give you $200,000 for your home, which is great.
I get those often, by the way.
Well, everybody gets them. And I know people, one lady who sold her home and now is renting the very home that she owned because she can't find anything comparable. So that's just kind of basic financial literacy, but also help with code enforcement liens so folks aren't losing their homes. And also using those CRA dollars along with the dollars that the current administration has set aside in their for all, from all home housing plan to make sure we put affordable housing on the ground in this neighborhood and in those lower income areas. And so it's having an intentional and purposeful look at that and making it a priority.
Great. I can tell you that the CRA, the benefit to have the CRA in existence in South St. Petersburg has been instrumental in an organization like a Habitat for Humanity be able to do more work.
Well, and the other thing that I'm running like I'm on a 90 seconds, so I'm so used to these debates. But the other thing is partnering with groups like Habitat, because we've done great work together with the county in Dansville and other areas. There are some lands that I would like to secure and work with a group like Habitat to put home ownership in an area, maybe some mixed income, mixed use, and so we have to be innovative in doing that, because once the land goes away, it goes away. And you've got speculators out there, investors that are going to sell that, flip it, and it's not affordable anymore. So I want an opportunity agenda for housing, just like we have opportunity agendas for transportation, for youth. We're going to come up with, again, opportunities for improvement in all those areas, both short-term and long-term. But home ownership and affordable apartments is a major priority.
Great. All right, this one's a long one, but very, very important, and the timing is perfect. So St. Pete is set to receive $45 million in the American Rescue Plan funding. And during the recent community outreach sessions, residents listed affordable housing as the #1 priority of how those dollars should be spent. The current administration has put forth a plan to utilize $15 million of the funding for affordable home ownership or affordable housing. Do you feel this level of funding is appropriate? And are there any specific projects or initiatives where your administration would utilize the funds?
Well, I commend the administration for that process. I attended one of those community meetings to give feedback. And it was good to hear the various city departments, including the fire chief and police chief, talk as well. I always thought housing should be where those dollars should come from. I recommended $20 million. And again, it was to replace the $20 million in linkage fees that's in that plan that the city has that you really can't use now because of some state legislation. So I would use $20 million to replace those dollars. There's not enough funding even in the county housing trust fund. We know we set aside $100 million, which is great. We still need more. So I will be actively looking for ways through our budget to offset other expenses and move dollars into housing. For example, the Integrated Water Resources Master Plan that will fix our sewers and our plants. Absolutely needed. We're under a consent decree. But in doing that, not only do we have rate increases, which might not be avoidable, but for the first time, the city is pulling from the penny for Pinellas about $9 million a year that could go to housing, could go to recreation centers, facilities, you name it. So what I want to do, working with the Biden administration, with Congress, I'm endorsed by Congressman Charlie Crist and Kathy Castor. And so we've got relationships. And out of that infrastructure bill, whether it's $1 trillion or $2 trillion, whatever it ends up, there'll be dollars that we can use to help with the Integrated Water Resources Master Plan. And the goal is to offset some of that $9 million they've allocated and then free that up for housing and other true needs that we have in the community. So it's all linked together.
Yeah, great. All right, so if elected, what will you do to ensure everyone in St. Petersburg has the opportunity to live in a safe, decent, and affordable home?
Well, you know, I commend Habitat because I've been at many of these. It's an experience when you turn the keys over and you see a family that's worked so hard. And I think everybody should have that opportunity. They also deserve to live in a safe neighborhood. And so we have to make sure that we're addressing the issues at the root level that lead to neighborhoods not being safe. Okay, and we just have to face that reality. And that means getting out in the street, talking to young people. And I've done that, you know, since I was in college. One of my first jobs was at the Frank Pierce Center. I was a youth counselor. I mean, it was one of the toughest jobs I ever had. You're 18, they give you 20 kids. Okay, keep them safe all day, right, in the summer.
Sure.
But, you know, so I just feel when you talk to kids directly, I have 2 daughters, and say, look, why is the violence happening? You know, we had a summit right at Enoch Davis this summer where we brought young people in and asked them, you know, why are we seeing this violence? And they told us, you know, we don't see a way to touch the opportunity that you keep telling us is out there. And that's why I want community centers right in the community that are upgraded like we did in Lellman with the Lellman Exchange. That's what I want these centers to look like and feel like, that actually kids can go there, they've got technology, they've got safe meeting spaces. That's how we make these neighborhoods safe. Strong supporter of law enforcement, endorsed by Sheriff Gualtieri, Sheriff Coates. They'll tell you you can put 1,000 cops on the street. If you don't give a kid a reason to pick up a tablet instead of a gun, law enforcement can't fix that problem down the road. So it's got to be all hands on deck. And I'm really engaged and excited about reaching out to these young people. And that ultimately makes our neighborhoods more safe.
Great. Well, we appreciate your intentionality behind affordable housing and making that a top priority. And we appreciate you joining us today and talking a little bit about it.
My pleasure. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Ken.
My pleasure.